Hi, I'm bored. Recently, I wanted to try out Twitch streaming as a new hobby, along with making videos, mainly as a way to record gameplay in full and host the VODs on YouTube for the sake of obliterating my storage just a little bit less. However, my face cam on my computer sucks ass, and I didn't want to figure out how to rig my professional camera up to my laptop because it doesn't take any upgraded audio input, and I'd have to mess with like audio-visual sync much more than I'd care to. So instead, I looked into setting up a VTuber. They've always fascinated me. It's a unique form of 2D animation that I've enjoyed for a long time. The models I've seen others rig are so detailed and expressive. They flow and bounce, and they're just so technically challenging that I can't even wrap my mind around them. They certainly look like they cost thousands of dollars before you even begin to understand how just difficult the process of creating them really is. But that's the thing, they cost thousands of dollars. I'm still a full-time student who makes money from the occasional $15 commission, and all those piles and piles of cash, they go straight to funding my Red Bull addiction. Where the hell would I get all that money? No, instead my only real course of action was to make it myself. That's what the background footage has been this whole time. Anyway, in my opinion, there's two main problems with the quote-unquote traditional look for VTubers. Number one, my mascot Bird Brain is not human. It's a bird skull with a hoodie. I don't know how to make that cute. But two, I'm not a woman. Have you ever seen an appealing male VTuber or any male anime character with a good design? And JoJo does not count. Araki is a Fujoshi. So that series of unfortunate events led me to this, photo bashing. You can technically animate anything if it's 2D and you assign enough tweening points. I know some artists that make their storyboards with stock photos for reference. I got these really basic PNGs of a bird skull from the 3/4 angle I wanted, and I actually never ended up using the second layer of the open mouth, but it was helpful for visualization, and also a hoodie from some model online. And then I just removed the backgrounds and cleaned up the connections between the hoodie and the skull. This is where hell on earth begins, rigging the model. Before I explain anything that I did, I want to give due credit to Merely Ufe and this incredible series of videos on the basics of rigging in Live 2D. It goes into much better detail and was made by a real professional who creates just jaw-droppingly gorgeous and challenging models. If you ever want to create something yourself, I will always be recommending this playlist and this creator. Now, here's my, Ashton Collinbird's, shortcut tutorial on how to make a conventionally unattractive VTuber. Step number 1. Separate your layers. Anything that moves needs to be on its own named layer. Name it. Separate it from the others. I'm using Clip Studio Paint to do this because I'm stupid and didn't feel like legally borrowing any other type of proper editing program. Also, Clip Studio Paint lets me easily export as a Photoshop document, and that's required for actually rigging things in Live 2D. Photoshop would also let me export as a Photoshop document, but we don't gotta talk about that. Then, I imported the file into Live 2D and started the rigging process. This is sped up to 11 times speed, so it does look really crazy, but don't worry, it would look worse slowed down. To start, I created a new rotation deformer, this little red circle with a line, and moved it to the spot I wanted the head to rotate from. In this case, the closest thing to a jawline I could manage. I named it Head Z because it will be my head's rotation on the Z-axis, and all my layers that include the head become the children of the Z-axis parent. I don't know how else to explain that because it's not technically a file that they're under, so the only other terms used in the system is parent and child. But they're like little ducklings following this guy, that's all you need to know. Then, I had to create keyframes. In traditional frame-by-frame animation, keyframes are the most important frames of movement. If you've got a 24 frames per second shot of a guy bending his arms, the keyframes are usually 1, 12, and 24. The opening frame where his arm isn't bent, the middle frame showing it bending, and the final frame where it's fully bent. For tweening, it's essentially the same principles, but you're moving an already existing object to create each keyframe, instead of drawing each new iteration. This is helpful and saves time. However, it also makes you lose forms of exaggeration and perspective, and creates new challenges by taking your time to reshape the image to fit a new angle, instead of being able to just draw that image at the new angle. This is known as a surprise tool, and it will harm us later. These keyframes in Live 2D are negative, neutral, and positive. That's what I'm going to be calling them, at least. This will get more complicated later, but that's how we're going to be talking about it. Now, I take the head Z and make one more rotation deformer, head XY. It becomes the parent of all the ducklings, and head Z becomes their weird old guy that feeds them frozen peas at the pond. Now I take all the parts of head XY and make a warp deformer. It creates a little square over my head so I can deform it at each keyframe to match the angle I'm going for. If I want the head to look up on the Y-axis, I move the Y-axis to the positive keyframe and deform the head so it seems like it's looking upwards. Then when I move back to the neutral keyframe, it's back to its base position, and I can select the negative keyframe to start deforming it and making it look down. I start with the X-axis because, again, I am stupid, and start deforming the head to make it seem like he's looking to the left. I am begging you to trust the process here. It will look bad until I figured out the exact angles. I am a frame-by-frame 2D animator. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I'm mimicking 3D without an actual 3D model. This is what we professional artists call making excuses, and it actually is a really productive use of your time. I spent a majority of my time here freestyling to see what felt the most correct. You'll see things start to actually pop into their right places once I cave and look up references of skulls at the angles I want. I also mess around with my reference layer for an open mouth and deformed it to match. This made the final sequence of giving the hell up and doing whatever I want to make the jaw move a lot easier, since I already had the movements understood from this practice. This segment took hours to figure out, so I'm just going to speed it up until we hit the highlights. Also, it looks funnier this way. Then, I begin separating the segments of the body, giving the arm its own rotation deformer and putting keyframes on the body so the model can turn left and right along with the head. I also made the body deform with the Y-axis, so when the head looks up, the body seems bigger, and when the head looks down, it seems smaller, giving an overall better perspective to the turns. Eventually, I messed around with the physics page to give it a slight bounce and flow. When the head turns right, the body takes a second before it also turns right, and then it bounces to the right position. After the body, I stopped being a coward and separated the jaw from the rest of the ducklings to raise it as one of my own. It's now its own parent because it turned 18 and moved out, so it can be deformed on its own rotation axis that I mirror with head movement. So whenever I talk, the camera will see my jaw move, and open Birdbrain's jaw also. Cool. Now that my very simple rig is basically finished, I add my final edits and export the rig to be tested in VTube Studio, a completely free software that I recommend. I run it as a Steam game in the background, and it takes almost none of my CPU or GPU to keep idle, plus it's really intuitive with OBS or any other streaming software you decide to use. I then create my OBS overlays for actually streaming, so my rig has somewhere to sit on my screen when I'm losing an Elden Ring fight for the 17th time in a row. I got more free PNGs of cardboard and went back into good old Clip Studio Paint and threw everything together. Yes, this is from Little Big Planet because I know ball and I'm a 17-year-old white boy. Anyway, that will be the little box that Birdbrain lives in during streams, and the cardboard above him will hold notifications, like follower goals and channel point text-to-speech. All of that's left to do is go live. This is the part of the video where I don't go live. Now, I'd love to upload this video and have the end card say, "And I'll be live at 3 p.m. EST tonight!" But right now, I still want to leave all my focus on my YouTube channel, which is my lazy excuse for saying I'm visiting family in Saudi Arabia right now, and my entire setup is being run out of my bed. So in the meantime, I'm going to be doing the really cringe thing and encourage you to follow my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ColumnBird. I will go live there eventually, and it will typically be a few hours after uploads. Speaking of, I promised another video coming soon. I'm currently working on getting a travel vlog or story time out before I head back to America, which I actually planned to finish filming before working on this video, but it turns out my various ailments make vlogging harder at a baseline, and vlogging in 115-degree heat is downright impossible. For my non-Americans, that's averaging 46 degrees Celsius for a majority of your day, every single day, no matter what. I'm white boy withering away, man. If you want any updates or context on why the hell I'm in Saudi Arabia, you should follow my Instagram. I'm committing to posting photo dumps once a month, and they'll even include my face. Whoa, guys. Face reveal, clickbait, face reveal, I can face reveal, and I'll get 1,000,000 likes. Face reveal, clickbait, 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 clip. I'm censoring it in every way possible in this video, so it forces your curious ass to go interact with me. Look, it'll even have my bird on there. You love my bird. Juniper World Domination.